guys, how's it going? Today is part 2 of our beginning of September garden tour. We are going to focus here on the south garden, the cut flower garden. Part 1 was taking a look at the area around the house, the pond, Hartley, the new land behind the barn. If you didn't catch that one, we will link it down below if you want to see how things look after a super hot summer. So there are so many beautiful things out here that I can't even believe they are as beautiful as they are after over a month of 100+ degree temperatures. So I wanted to start right here because this is one of my favorite kind of sweeping views in our entire garden. I love this flower border so much. I think everything in here is working together, and that doesn't always happen. We've got other spots like that, you know, they'll get there. Oh, hey, focus here. Anyway, there are other areas that I just either 100% haven't planted anything in, or I'm just working on it. But this spot right here I love. The Supertunia Mini Vista Plum Veined is a new one for 2025, and I adore this plant. I think the color is perfection. It just is working itself. I've got another patch of it that actually looks even better down this way. It looks good with all the stuff we have in here. We've got a bunch of late summer beauty in here in the Beyond Midnight Caryopteris. The honeybees absolutely love this plant. We planted the Elizabeth Rose this year. And then, you know, you can see the pufferfish hydrangeas we just popped in, and those were kind of this is what you might find on a clearance rack at the end of the season sort of situation. But the lemon squeeze pennisetum is absolutely beautiful back in there. We've got some autumn joy sedum. There's some hardy geraniums, and we dug a lot of this stuff up. Well, all the sedum, all the hardy geraniums, the spiderwort, tradescantia, which I did not mean to move out here. This one's kind of a thug, but it does have pretty purple flowers. But these were dug up from the area where the pond now is, as were all of these iris. We've got some pink potion Veronica on its second bloom flush, looking really pretty. There's some blue fortune agastaki, which we just planted more of at the end of the loop. And you guys, I'm gonna go, we'll look at this whole border on the interior, and then we'll go back around to look at the border on the outside. But here's more of the Mini Vista Plum Veined with the lemon coral sedum. That right there is so cooling to me. And I think the reason I love this bed so much is not just that all the textures look really good, but all the pink. I love all the cool pink in this area. It's backed by the smoke bush, which remember we had to do a rejuvenation prune on. It just kind of melted, the whole thing just kind of melted back and died back. So I cut it all the way to the ground, and it's really done well. We've got some of the Ringo double pink roses, and these are dotted all throughout the garden. We've got a whole bunch on that side, but they've got a really interesting bloom when you look in there. Let me see if I can, well, you can see, yeah, that deep pink with almost like a purple splash. They are so pretty. And lemon coral is something I'm going to be doing more of next year, so prepare yourselves. That will be a heavy use annual next year because they do not need anything from us. They don't want to be fertilized, really. I mean, you can, but they don't need it. And they just bring that cooling touch to the garden. I know Aaron's probably super happy about that. It's one of his favorite annuals. We've got some hardy geraniums. I actually never cut these back, which I should have, so they are looking a bit tired. And you can tell if they haven't been cut back. If you get in here, you can see the old growth around the outside, and that's the new growth. That had I cut them back early enough, I still could clean them up a little bit. But at this point of the season, it's kind of like, you know, we're not that far off from cutting them back altogether for the whole rest of the season. We've got a ginger wine 9-bark, and I feel like that is such a good representation of what those shrubs look like at sort of maturity. I don't expect it to get much bigger than that. It's even got some random blooms on it. They usually bloom in the late spring, and absolutely gorgeous when they're in bloom. But I love that deep kind of like autumnal red, like autumnal, how do you say that word?
Autumnal?
Is it autumnal?
I think so.
Autumnal?
I don't think it's autumnal.
Fall-esque looking color. We put this arrangement together. I can't even walk back in there, but with the mini plum veined because I wanted to see what it would look like in a container versus in the ground, along with some bluebird nemesia. Do you see that in there? Nemesia used to be one of those annuals you could only use as a cool season annual, and some of these new varieties hold up to the heat clearly. I mean, these are all in not a huge reservoir, soil reservoir, and those look great. And then we've got the, I think it's Wedgwood Pink is a new Angelonia for next year as a centerpiece. We have some work yet to do here in the center. We'll get there. Sometimes I start with the right stuff, you know, big trees and evergreens, and sometimes I start with the border and then work back from there and add shrubs in later. It just kind of happens that way sometimes. We've got some new echinacea in here. Those are some doubles. I can't remember the actual variety name, but they've been a fun one. The spring groves. You guys, these are amazing. Cottontail yarrow. This is not a baby's breath. This is a yarrow. Super tough. But these, like this is a perfect shape. Look at this. Isn't that gorgeous? I always love to flash a picture of what these look like and what the area looked like when we first planted these, because I think these were one of the first things that we put out here, and they've really put on a lot of size, and so have the catalpas. We planted these this year. You know, we planted 3, which we will look at here in a little while. Last year, they died all the way back to the ground, and then thankfully we didn't dig them up, but they sprung forth from the ground late in the season, and they are huge. And then we planted these, which I want to say that they were, am I wrong to say they were about this tall when we planted them?
Pretty small.
Like, am I remembering that right? Because I feel like they've bulked up so much. These perfume the garden like no other plant that I have ever grown. Like 100% the most fragrant plant I have ever grown. And they've got these beautiful, well, this is a really good representation, beautiful big panicles of like snapdragon looking blooms. And they bloom through the summer, like through the whole entire summer, through the heat and all of that. We still have this spot empty. Hopefully we'll get to that project within this month, I'm hoping. Queen Nectarine Agastache, so very successful report on this one because these were not planted this year. These were planted last year. I had planted some the prior year to that, so 2022, and they did not survive the winter. So I replanted last year hoping that they would come back just to see, like maybe I did something wrong, maybe we weren't watering them properly, whatever, but they did great and have done great all season long. And I love that peachy apricot bloom. But not only that, if you get in on this, it's not just the bloom, but it's that kind of burgundy, it's not even burgundy, it's like a smoky pink calyx that holds those blooms on. So they look like a multi-dimensional, like they're a two-tone color flower. They're really an interesting plant. And then this has to be like, I don't know, top 3 grasses for me. Ornamental grasses. These are the Niagara Falls panicum. I love that they just get so thick. I love the boldness of their leaf. Not all grasses have a super wide leaf like these do. And then the seed heads are glorious, and they're starting to kind of turn that rosy color for fall. They're just a beautiful one. And I've got 3 right here, and you certainly do not need 3 to create an impact. And we can look at a couple more that we have that are singles that create just an amazing look just all on their own. And we've got some random things, sedums and stuff that we've cut back. They don't look all that great at this point of the season. We've got some rugosa roses. I want to say this is Seaside, is it Seaside Pink or something like that? I can't remember, but I love rugosa foliage. So they have 7 leaves on there, even more, there's 8 on this one, instead of 5 like our other roses. And they have more of a leathery, tough looking texture to them. And the roses are just really sweet. And these are a type that stay about like this. They might get a little bit more full, maybe like up to here, but they'll just stay very nice and compact. This is a Centara double blue lilac, and we had some really nice blooms from it this spring. I kind of struggled with it the year before, and I can see all kinds of buds for next year's blooms on here. So this one's going to be a show. And this has really thick leaves, like super thick and not leathery. They're just sturdy, glossy, deep green. I love it. Right here, we're leaving an entrance because there is going to be a walkway that starts in right here. So we're kind of leaving this open. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to go, and I want to have plenty of space for it. But we did go ahead and plant this multi-trunk birch, and it's doing it. You know, we planted it right when it was really hot. Like, was it about a month ago or so, maybe? Yeah, so it's gonna be totally fine, but it's looking like it's a little tiny bit weary, but I love it. Like the instant we sat it here, I thought, why haven't we planted a tree here yet? I did this weekend come in and plant these. There's some agastache in here. There's some sedum in here. This is the coral jade, and then this is more of the blue fortune. So I'm hoping that it thickens up and gets taller and looks like the stuff that we just looked at before. We've got the reminiscent coral. Look at this. Isn't that pretty? It kind of has that golden hue toward the interior, and then it just really, it's very coral. And it's gonna look beautiful with the agastache. It looks beautiful with the monk aster right here, which we just planted a whole bunch more of because these are so beautiful. Now these could have benefited from a pinchback in like maybe June, and then we wouldn't be dealing with this floppage. But you know, at least there's pretty blooms on it. I didn't get to the cutback clearly. Blue muffin viburnum right in here, just doing great in the full sun. Viburnums were one I always thought I needed to protect more, but so far this one's just, it's growing like a weed. It's just beautiful. We've got the blonde ambition, blue grandma grass right in here. And this is kind of what started my whole kind of, not obsession with this grass, but this is also a top 3 right here. And I planted this on top of the pond, the very top layer, and then I started some in the winter sowing method this year, and I've got 60 4-inch grasses in the greenhouse of this to use around the Dreamstream area and then wherever else we want to pop some in. But I think they're gorgeous. They almost look like little praying mantis to me. We've got some hollyhocks in here that we've cut back. They're actually forming up some new, it looks like we might get a few more blooms this season yet. Cat's meow nepeta right here. And then we have our red section. And I have enjoyed this red section way more than I ever thought I would. So we might have to put some names on the screen because I can't remember all of them. But we've got a Dahlia that's new from Proven Winners for 2025. Most of these are new for next year. And I highly recommend all of their new little varieties of Dahlia. This is as tall as they get that they're coming out with. I've planted a violet, 2 different varieties of red, a yellow and the pinkerific. They're all awesome. Like they're all really good plants. They always are full of color like this, performing way better than my other dahlias, like by far. So we've got that, and then we've got this kufia right behind it, which I haven't ever seen a kufia that looks like this. It has outturned petals. Usually they have tube-shaped blooms, which they still do. If you look at the back side of the bloom, they have that tube, but then there's these petals on the outside that kind of flare out. And I thought that this would be kind of a good bridge between the unplugged red salvia and this dahlia, because we're dealing with 2 different tones of red here. This is kind of like a very warm red. This is more of a cool red. And this kufia sort of has both of those colors in it. And I think it really bridged the gap beautifully. There's unplugged white salvia right behind. I really wish we had things done in the middle here so it wasn't just like this island of nothing in there, but we'll get to that. Yeah, they've just performed beautifully. Denim and lace Russian sage. This is the Cheyenne Sky panicum right here. I do love the color of this one, but I do deal with this a lot. It's not quite as strong. So I wouldn't say this is in my top 3 or maybe in the top 10 of grasses because I do love the color that it adds, and it's a little bit more open. It's not as thick, so it looks a little bit more delicate, which I do like. Right in here, we have the lemon coral along with that red kufia. It's so pretty. What do you think of this one, Aaron?
I like it. Yeah.
Isn't it pretty?
Yeah.
There are
kind of swallowed up that hydrangea.
I know, there you can see a little bit of one right in there. The quickfire tidbit is what those are. There's, I think, 3 of them in there. There's one back toward that direction. But proudberry coral berries in here with a fukuzumi, I think is what that one's called, pine. This is doing great. And it's got such an interesting structure. I love it. And I would love to have a few more that have this sort of look to it. They almost look, well, like you could put it in a Japanese, like a Zen garden, or you could put it in like a coastal, like a windswept sort of situation. I think it looked beautiful either way. But the coral berries are really starting to put on their show. We've got a ton of pink berries, which that's going to be interesting along with the red here shortly, but they're just loaded up. Stand By Me clematis, this is its 2nd bloom. Right here, we cut them all the way back down to the ground when it was done blooming before, and now they're looking beautiful again. This is sort of a patch I need to work on, like kind of big time. There is a weeping beech tree in here that needs to be staked and or removed. I'm not enjoying it right here, and I know Aaron doesn't like it. So maybe we'll rehome this one and put something. I think I would enjoy this space much more with this gone. Like, can you imagine it gone?
Oh yeah.
Am I covering it enough?
Oh yeah, I can imagine it gone.
Yeah, can you?
Yeah.
You'll be out here later today
It just
digging it
looks
out.
like one of those trees that you're like, I'm gonna put a dead looking tree right here.
Not quite that bad. It's
It's
just,
kind of bad.
well, it's not great.
So beech trees typically just don't do that well in our area, right? They're kind of a second story.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, like an understory
Yeah,
tree.
understory is what I
Yeah,
meant to say.
yeah, with a little more protection. I probably jumped the gun on planting that one, and maybe if we left it, it would turn into something amazing. But sometimes it's not worth it waiting for it when you don't know if it's actually going to happen the way you kind of hope it will.
Now the shrub to your right, love those.
This is a Miss Ruby.
Those
Dahlia.
could go everywhere.
Yeah, they're beautiful, and we've got some volunteer echinacea in here, lemon squeeze, pennisetum. Okay, so this is a geranium called Boom Chocolata. And as much as I love it, we had some behind the chicken coop that looks glorious for about 1 week, and then it gets covered in powdery mildew. We do not deal with powdery mildew here, except for on these. And it always looks like this white crusty, and so I'm gonna dig this out too. I'm just not gonna fight it anymore. Nope, not gonna do it. The marshmallow Bidens, however, looking just amazing. I need to cut the echinacea back that's behind it, but aren't those beautiful? I wish these were perennial, but they are such an amazing kind of filler annual because they don't trail out like your supertunias. They kind of give you a little bit of height, but not a tremendous amount. So they're a really great like middle layer plant if you're doing a container especially. We've planted a few things in here this season. We've got the Ruby Chip Juniors. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Shouldn't there be one right here? Or did I take a break from planting right there? I don't know. I might have to add another one. There's the pink cashmere super bean as well, which has done really great. I'm looking for the buddleia. Maybe I only planted 5. No, yeah, 5. There's a Dobbs frosted juniper right back here, which once the super bean is gone, you'll be able to see it better. And then another Chitalpa, which we planted this year and has put on a ton of growth as well. This is a Bonnie blue spruce right here, which we can expect. This one is like a 20 by 15 or I think right about in there. So it's going to fill in this space beautifully eventually. I have also planted more of the Aphrodite sweet shrubs. There's one over here, this one, and then there's that one right behind the urn. And I'll show you a more mature one here in a minute. So let's go around this corner. We've had beautiful chamomile in here. We've just cut it back because it was kind of looking crispy. So we've got some plants that are fresh here, and then they'll come back right in this area. This space here, we've got a pink variety of phlox that's either new this year or next year, and I can't remember which one. This is Firefly Fuchsia, Yarrow. Just planted the denim and lace right in here. I need to move these echinacea because they're getting way too much water, and you can see the hard water. That's what our water does.
Well, I think what happens is when the sprinklers go off, if it happens to be windy at all, it typically blows that direction.
Yeah. And they're sited a little too close to where there's more water anyway, and echinacea tend to like to be dry. So I think moving, and they're more orange. So I've got like that one red section where I'm going to do kind of warmer flowers. That's where these will probably move. These are a top 3. Have I already named 3 top grasses? So the Niagara Falls, lemon squeeze pennisetum, and then the blue grama grass, the blonde ambition. Yeah, I would say those are probably my top 3 grasses. These are awesome, you guys. I mean, the leaves are more of like a limey green. They're not like a super deep color. They're a little bit lighter when they first come out, and then the plumes are just so showy, and you can use these in fall decorating, which is so fun. I need to start doing a little bit of that. The kids and we put some leaves around the kitchen window with some lights, and then I put a big pile of my pumpkins out because the kids love to decorate, and just let them go to town, and they set them all over the place inside, just in random spots. But we need to bring in some of this kind of the natural elements. Pufferfish hydrangeas we just recently planted. Did I already talk about these? I think I did. So to kind of bolster up the look of this whole area because we have pufferfish kind of going through here. These get 3 to 5 feet tall and wide. I'm hoping they get 5. Like that's 5 right about here. That's what my hope is. And usually hydrangeas do it for us. So I don't know that I'm going to take after them super hard in the prune department because I just want them to put on some bulk. All right, now we're going to pop out to the outer ring and go through those flower beds. So now on this side, like we mentioned earlier, there are some spots that I need to do some work on and planting like at all. I cannot figure out exactly what I want to do with this space. And now that we are going to be making so many changes to the cut flower garden, which we'll go through that here in a minute, I kind of want to wait to see what that looks like before I decide what I do here, because I might do something formal to mirror it. And then we'll enter in kind of more of the informal space. We've got some daylilies in here, which I think I'm going to work on removing all daylilies from the garden. They look good for a short amount of time at the beginning of the summer when they're in bloom, for their first flush of bloom. And then here in our area, the spider mites like them. And they're such a thick plant that it's really hard to eradicate spider mites from daylilies. So then we end up having to cut them back at a weird time, and then they kind of barely flush and have some leaves by the end of the season. It's just not a really great one for our flower beds. So anyway, that's what we've got going here. There are some really pretty things, though, especially as we move down the way. We've got some white swan echinacea, which we just planted recently, like in the last month. And I love white swan. It's what we have over on this side right there. They kind of tower above things, and I just really like the bloom structure. Then right here, you guys, beyond midnight caryopteris, there are 5 of them planted in a drift. And I really hadn't looked at caryopteris as being one to drift, you know, to plant all in mass like this, but I have enjoyed it so much, and so have the honeybees. Oh my word. The pollinators love them. They start blooming during the heat of summer and they go all the way to a hard frost. And they don't want to be fertilized, they don't need a lot of water, and we cut them back once a season. I'm a huge fan of that plant. There's the weeping Alaskan cedar right there, which we added this year, and I really like that one. And then lots of pretty stuff here. We just recently planted this autumn joy sedum, so this will fill in beautifully. And then I've got room for one more kind of shorter thing. I was thinking like a repeat of that pink Veronica would be really pretty. We do have Pope John Paul II roses, which I dug up from behind our fireplace. Look at that. And then see what it looks like earlier on. They're so pretty. And we added the Miss Violet Buddleias this year. There's also the Bit of Honey Heliopsis. There's some Serendipity alliums that are just kind of going out of bloom, but they've got an interesting seed head here. We don't have issues with them spreading. I don't know if this is a variety that would seed itself around. Usually Proven Winter stuff doesn't do that a whole lot. But there's a Desert Plains Pennisetum. I've got 3 in this bed, but this one looks the very best. There were a few things in our garden, including the whole orchard, that got nailed during a 27-degree night this spring. Like, it had already warmed up and we were in consistently, I think, in the high 40s, and then all of a sudden 27. And it took all of our orchard fruit. And then also these grasses were particularly affected. Like, they had already pushed about, I don't know, a foot or so of growth, and it just made them all brown on the tips. Some of them died back, but this one recovered really, really nicely, and it's a beautiful grass. We've got I do want to pop out to look at the annuals, but we've got a beautiful drift of Baptisia. See, even after they're done blooming, they're beautiful texture. Drops of Jupiter oregano. And then we've got a whole bunch of new stuff in this area. So of course a border in the first season doesn't always look the best. We've got Salvia, which is not brand new, but we did cut that all the way back semi-recently. But we've got some sedum in here, and I think it might be tiramisu, I can't remember. It's having a little bit of a struggle, but I think we'll be all right. We've got the cotton candy meadow rue, which is a new one for next year. Love the texture, love the bloom structure. They're like little puff balls. Look at this. Like little flossy looking flowers. But I also planted a bunch of monk aster, which are the same as those purple ones we looked at before. Green jewel echinacea, which these have taken on, like, it looks like the wind came through and just like swept them all sideways. What the heck is going on here? It's all right, we'll just cut them back and hopefully they'll right themselves. I just planted some sweet romance lavender in here in more of a drift form. These grasses are the panicum called totem pole. These are pretty amazing too. I like the Niagara Falls because of its very like elegant sort of growth habit and the look of it. But if you need a tall grass that brings some like striking structure, it's definitely a good one. And they've proven themselves to be very tough. Like they've been in here, I don't know, 4 seasons. This might be their 4th season. And we chop them down to the ground every year and they come back fresh. You know what, this might be a good location to pop out and look at these annuals really quick. But there's another Catalpa right here. North Pole Arborvitae right here, bringing some nice structure as a single. I planted one of the new rock steady chase trees right there. We'll see how that does. But I have loved this combination. Now the Superbena is sort of flushing out, and I don't know if it's because we got down to 46 2 nights. 46. It was like pretty chilly feeling, and I don't know if that would affect these, but anyway, we've got a little bit of a lull in bloom, but still gorgeous. Superbena Cobalt, Supertunia Saffron Finch. There's Diamond Frost Euphorbia in here, and then the Angelonia, the super blue. And I love, like I put quite a lot of space between the Angelonias instead of putting them really close together because I didn't really have enough to put them close together. And I really like how it ended up looking. I think it's just so pretty if you stand down here and take a look, because this is our lane. So as you're driving, you see this just glorious drift of color. Boy, if I had had enough to do this whole, the whole thing, wouldn't that have been awesome? That might have to be one of our big projects next year. Wouldn't that be pretty? That's going to be hard to beat. That's for sure. While we're out here on the lane side, let's take a look at this bubblegum down here, so I can see it peeking through. This is a European white birch, one of my favorite trees on our entire property. And our forsythias, these are show-off forsythias. There's one that's kind of small, and then this one's like done some wild things this year. Like it's big.
So weird, it's the same variety.
I know,
like
but we had a third.
Yeah.
Remember? The third one just kind of melted and went away, which a lot of our forsythias do that for some reason, but these have taken hold.
Yeah.
I think the mosquitoes are starting to get to me now. This is a brandywine viburnum. Just wanted to show you what the berries are looking like. Isn't that pretty? And then the leaves will turn like a very bright, like burgundy and bright red. Already starting to just a little bit right in there. So exciting. Echinacea purpurea, started these from seed this year. Planted these out as tiny little things. Also moved these iris from behind the chicken coop. And they bloom kind of a yellow with a little bit of a blue tinge, but I love the texture. I want more of this texture around. I think it's so pretty. This river of Supertunia Vista bubblegum, it's gorgeous. And I think the thing I love about it so much is that it draws your eye back. Instead of being kind of a patch like the other one we just looked at, this one has a little bit more movement. Something I learned this year. So I think that's probably something we will be doing more of. So when I do patches of annuals like we just saw, I'm going to draw some more interest back into the areas we're looking at. I think it's so pretty like that. Of course, the Norway spruce doesn't hurt. Looking so good. It put on a ton of growth this year. Something in my shoe. Okay, let's go back in here. It's getting kind of thick. There's really not a whole lot that we missed here. There's more daylilies that we'll work on moving. We've got some of the Buddleia, the Miss Rubies. There are 3 in this space. They're looking great. These are the pincushion flowers, the Fama whites that we moved from the cut flower garden. Need to do a little deadheading, but they've really done well after their transplant. These are the coral jade sedum, which they're the same as the ones that we just looked at in the center I planted. I've had these since last year, so they look a little stressed. Next year, they'll look a lot better. This is where we added the bench with the stepping stone, so we have a place to sit. But it's hard to sit when I walk up to the bench and I notice this in one of the plants. That's the thing. You know, us gardeners, it's hard to sit when you see things like this around and you just want to take care of it. Goes a gravel truck. Okay, so now this larch that we planted, it suffers. It does.
Maybe there's a reason we don't see a lot of larch planted around
here. Yeah, you're probably right. And I think that it wants more protection. I had a Hortsman's recurva larch in our townhouse garden, and it was along the pathway. It was very protected, and it did really well right there. This one is pushing a whole bunch of new leaves. It is a deciduous, so it will lose its needles in the fall. So I'm hoping next year it just comes back and it's stronger. You know, we have planted this serviceberry, and that might help provide a little bit more protection for it in the summer sun. However, the sun usually is on this side, so I don't think this is going to do anything now that I think of it. Hopefully it just roots in and it's happier in the end. We may have to move it, but I love the structure here. I'd have to find something that was similar for this area. Senorita roses, perennial geraniums, which again, we did not cut back, and we probably should, especially like this one. They get so big. Hold on. This one's looking kind of yellow. So I think if we cut that one back, that whole patch would look a lot better. Right back in here, we have the Supertunia Tiara Blue, and then one of the yellow dahlias, which we just deadheaded, and there's a whole bunch of buds. We've got the yellows planted in another spot we'll look at, and they're doing really well. Supertunia Vista Bubblegum is an absolute shrub of an annual. Look at this. This is all flat ground right here. How tall do you think those are?
Like 2 feet?
Yeah. 26 plants from start to finish. That's it. That's how many it took. And I planted, what, 80 Superbena? Something like super. I probably didn't even need to plant that many. But we did 26, and we probably could have done less than that, to be honest. Like, they're amazing. Supertunia Limelight Primes right here, looking absolutely gorgeous. I was toying with the idea of possibly moving these and putting in Quickfire Fabs, but I don't know. Quickfire Fabs just bloom a lot earlier in the season, and they're bright white for a lot of the season, which I thought would be really pretty. Maybe a little bit more sparkly than a lime colored back here. But these are looking really good. They really are.
Well, and once the every others have a chance to catch up.
Yeah, we only had we had the original 6, and then we came in with extras in between because we wanted it to be a little bit more closely planted. So these do need a chance just to catch up. Back in here, we've got a bunch of beautiful stuff. I mean, black lace elderberry. There's a, that's a cinnamon curls birch right there. Blue skies Serbian spruce. We've got some Dahlia that actually did come back, 2 of them out of the however many I planted. How many did I plant? Like 9? I don't know. Sometimes that happens. I don't remember what variety those are. We picked them up at Jaker, I think, on one of our trips. Over there's a Tickle Creek white bark birch. There's a red fox katsura. Angel white lilac back in here. Beautiful, beautiful in the springtime. And we've got a DeRuyter's Serbian spruce right here. It looks looking really good. Pushed a bunch of new growth this year. These are the orange smoothie daylilies, and yeah, I feel like this might be the only or the last patch that we leave while we remove everything else. These do look pretty when they bloom. I don't know, it's a hard one because they're here and they fill in this space eventually, but they just get so weary so fast. Superbena whiteout in here, and this is the basket of gold alyssum that we transplanted from behind the chicken coop. It's doing great, bloomed beautifully this spring. We've got another lemon squeeze pennisetum in here. There's a hillside upright Norway spruce, and then an Apollo maple. Only grows 10 feet wide, but like 40 feet tall. I think that's going to be really neat. We've got a lavender skies rose here. This is a proven winner's rose, and it's said that it can do it like a climber, train it as a climber or a large shrub. I think, oh no, it's definitely a large shrub. I'm thinking maybe a little bit more appropriate as a climber. So what
can you put like something for it to climb on here?
Yeah, I could do that trellis that I got.
Yeah, that's what I mean, a trellis.
Yeah, we could maybe do that. That would be a really good idea. And it's kind of in the perfect spot. We need something, you know, a little taller right there. It's a pretty color of rose. We've got some, are those the avalanche calamagratis? And then we've got some of the new Delosperma ice plants down here, microchip pink buddleia. This is a skull cap. It's the only one out of the huge drift that survived this last winter. It's looking good. This right here is a Wichita blue juniper. We have 3 more of these we picked up at Jaker to plant because this has been such a great color.
Really, how tall does it get?
I think those get like, do they get 15 or 15 to 20? I'd have to look it up, and I don't have my phone on me right now. We've got some tiramisu sedum along with some creeping veronica down here, Sesky gold dwarf birch. And then this is the Aphrodite sweet shrub I was talking about from before. And this one I need to trim the black lace off of it a little bit. just like one big branch needs to come off. So it gives this a little bit more space, but it's done really, really nicely. There's a proudberry coralberry right here. And then the impressive Thunderbird, no, it's not a Thunderbird, it's Catch a Wave mangave, the bloom stalk. It's enormous. And it's supposed to, so they're monocarpic, which means when the mother plant pushes a bloom stalk like this, it's on its way out. It's going to start to die. They usually start producing offsets or pups off the bottom where you can take those and root them and start a new one, but I don't see any offsets starting on this one. Just kind of a bummer. Maybe we just need to give it a little more time. This is a tater tot arborvitae. There's some betony in here we just recently cut back, and there's a drift of buddleia. And then the fall in love sweetly anemones are just coming right into their own right now. Look at how gorgeous. Look at all these buds. And I love to use these in flower arrangements, not even just for the flowers, but if you get a stem like this with a couple flowers on it, but then also this texture, it brings such a whimsical look to an arrangement. They're so pretty, and these do full sun. And I never knew Japanese anemones to be able to handle full sun. So I planted these out here as sort of an experiment, and they've done great. We've got some Vanessa Bell roses in here, denim and lace Russian sage. This is the back and black sedum. There's our Hebe fountain, rockin'. I did bunch up some bird netting because I still haven't got those weights for the water yet, and it's kind of eliminating a little bit of the splatter. We've got in here Superbena, pink cashmere, the Supertunia hoopla vivid orchid. There's some microchip pink buddleia in here and some iris, which are new, so they just need a chance to fill in. Back in here we have flame willows, which the color in the wintertime, oh, the branches are amazing. They are like flames. Amazing color. Weeping white spruce right there. And then we've got a bank of the Ringo double pink roses, which are kind of being gobbled a little bit by the annuals. We've also got some Supertunia Mini Vista whites in here, looking especially stunning right there. But we've also got a Kwanzaa cherry that we dug up from the front lawn when we got rid of that whole space, and we brought it out here. And there's some hollyhocks and another Centara blue lilac in there. Okay, that kind of sums up this. There's a lot to see, isn't there? There's a lot going on in here. It's so exciting. So we'll just pop over here. I think this one was a, is there a rose called, what was it called? I can't remember. I thought I had it, but I don't think I have it. It's a pink one. It's a climber. It's really pretty. And then over here we've got a Sensation honeysuckle. Oh, the smell, you guys, is just amazing. And it is starting to put on a little bit more growth. I should spend some time out here, you know, kind of training it to do that sort of thing.
Looks like you just did.
Oh, there you go. There's a lot more that needs to be done though. I mean, it needs to be kind of untangled. It's kind of a mass right now, but it's been blooming all season. A little bit lighter right now, but there's a bunch of buds that I'm seeing, and the scent is just, oh, it's so strong and amazing. Our orchard is holding its own. It's had some struggles, like I mentioned. We had that cold night and it took all of the fruit, which has been a little bit of a blessing. It was a blessing in disguise. At the time I was a little bummed, but it's been nice not to have to harvest, if that makes sense to any of you guys. I know sometimes when things are coming off, it's like everything in the garden is producing at the same time, and it's very hard to get everything harvested and processed, and yeah, harvest takes a lot of time. So it was kind of nice to have a little bit of a reprieve from that this year so we could focus on some other things. But they are looking good, which I'm thankful for, because the apricot trees in particular, which is this one and the one on the other side, the kind of mirrored spots, they defoliated almost all the way. And I don't know why, just the apricots did that, but they have since pushed new leaves and they're looking okay. So thankful for that. Let's go this direction because the zinnias look so pretty from the road. This section, I don't really have a lot to say about it other than the dahlias. You can see that there are some plants and some flowers. You know, it's probably a good thing that I didn't have a bang up dahlia year. You know, we're getting ready to do some major awesome changes to this space. We got our linden trees and we've got boxwoods coming the first week of October, and we are just going to formal this space out. It's going to look so awesome. So it's a good thing that it wasn't an amazing year. Otherwise, it might give me pause, because if I was looking at a beautiful sea of dahlias, I'd probably think, oh, I don't know. maybe we shouldn't do the boxwoods, but in this case, we absolutely should. Absolutely. Look at these flowers. Oh. So the zinnias, cosmos, sunspot sunflowers, they all went in after we were done pulling all the tulips and daffodils that we had in the space. So they went in pretty late, like it was late June, I think. I'd have to go back and double check. But the way I plant is I seed heavy, I don't thin, I don't pinch, I don't stake. All they get is water. They get the bed prep, like the Biotone starter fertilizer, and then we keep them moist, you know, when they're getting ready to germinate. But after that, they're on their own, and this is what they do. They're amazing. Before we get too far, I want to show you the floret varieties down there. I wanted to show you this is the, I think it's double Dutch rose. Have you ever seen a cosmo flower this amazing, this fluffy? It almost doesn't even look like a cosmo. They're just gorgeous. Some come out a little bit more single and some are just these huge doubles, and I love the color. I think they're so pretty. The sunspot sunflowers are looking awesome. So these are clearly a shorter variety, nice big sunflower heads. The bees really like them, and they've just been a beautiful spot out here. Okay, floret zinnias. We do have the giant scarlet. These are the giant lime right here. Then we've got the senorita pink. And then we've got the creamy yellow dahlia flowered right here. And then this is where the floret varieties start. And you can see they are very similar in color, but they're different in bloom like structure. Look at this. Look at how sweet that one is right there. You've got a lot of pastels, a lot of pinks, silver, apricot, soft yellow. They're just really, really gorgeous. These have a little bit more of a purple vibe to them right here. And we do have all the varieties listed in the video when I planted these. These are so pretty. Can't remember which one this is, but these have kind of a silvery note to them. The next row, they're all California giants, and then the cosmos, it just varies. I think these might be the apricota, just starting to bloom. And then there's whites, there's rubenza, there's another variety of white, and then the pink ones down there at the end. Some of these are like quite tall. The rest of the annual rows, I'm just kind of letting go at this point. Now that we need to retool, or we are going to retool, and we need some space, like we're going to be planting, I want to say one of the trees is going to be going right here. So we're going to be pulling a lot of this stuff here shortly. We've got Elysianthus, which is, if you pick through, you can find some really good stems. Same with the snapdragons. We've got some Quartet Rainbow stock still producing beautifully down there. And we'll leave stuff that, you know, not in the way until the end of the season when it's ready to be pulled. But some of the stuff in the corners is going to have to go. These containers have been amazing. So we've got the Superbena Cobalt, Supertunia Bordeaux. There's some Stratosphere White Gara. On some sides, you can see the Bidens. Let's go this way and look. Yeah, you can see the Bidens right here. It's been interesting to see their growth rate because this one gets water every day. This one gets water every other day. So that one's a little bit behind. A little bit. The rose garden, again, since we're going to be changing things up, we are going to dig and transplant the roses that I really love. And then we are going to dig and rehome the ones that I don't love, that don't really fit in with the rest of the garden space. And that probably is mostly like the reds. There's a few, yeah, there's just a few in there that don't go with the rest of my color scheme. Most of them do though. And I've just come to find like this is what the rose garden looks like most of the season. There's petals everywhere. They need to be deadheaded all the time to make them look good. And I've just learned that, and I kind of knew this about a rose garden in the beginning. It was something that you really wanted. I don't want to throw you under the bus, Erin, but Erin really wanted a rose garden. And I thought, well, you know what? This is a perfect spot to try it out. And do you love it?
No.
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 Yeah. So, I mean, we can get some really pretty blooms out of here. And it might be different in a different climate too. We've also struggled with thrips and spider mites and all that kind of stuff. So it's just been a little bit of a weird year that way. But I think we're going to enjoy this so much more the way we're going to be retooling it. And we'll still be able to enjoy most of these roses out in the garden anyway. We'll keep them. How did I not mention this yet? This has been such an amazing addition. Now it's not 100% level. You'll notice it's coming off a little bit more on this side than that side, but good enough. Well, Aaron came out here and he took all the sod out, and that was a big job because it was so dry, and dry sod is hard to take up. And then he and Paul put some gravel down, and then we just constructed the fountain. And I know it seems like a tremendous amount of work to not actually go to the trouble of putting a permanent concrete base down, but we weren't sure if we're gonna love it here. We wanted to try it in this space before we hired somebody and waited. Whoop, I'm getting bit now. Now that we know we love it here, we called him and we're on his list of projects, and he'll come, we'll take the fountain down, he'll pour a concrete base, and then we'll have a beautiful level base to set this on, and that will help things out so much. But I don't think that there's a better fountain out there that would fit this space. I love it so much. So on the other side of the dahlias, there are some beautiful things. There's some really nice gomphrena in here. The celosia is amazing. This variety here is from Floret, and so is this one. They're both awesome. This one's rose gold. Highly recommend. I started both of these from seed in the greenhouse, but I love the color. Rose gold is such a good name for this plant. We've got limonata right here, which really you can use. It's very versatile. You can use it in a cool color palette or a warm one. This variety, I can't remember what it's called. Also from Floret, and it's very stunning. I love the dark color of the leaves. We've got some nice status in here. It's looking really nice, very colorful. We're gonna have to relocate the rhubarb plants. Don't look at the honeyberries. They look really bad at the moment. This space, I think I'm gonna be spending some time out here. It needs some attention, big time. We've got celosia, we've got yarrow, and again, like the perennials that we do have in this space, which are the yarrow, we've got some foxglove, delphiniums, there's some eryngium, echinacea, all of those are going to be relocated out into the garden. So it's kind of one of those things, like, do I spend a bunch of time deadheading it and all that when I know I'm just gonna cut it back and dig it up and move it this fall in not too long, like in a few weeks? Probably won't spend a lot of time doing that, but I do need to get out here and cut some corn. I grew this for the stalks. It's ornamental corn, and I don't even know, I guess this one's down on the ground. I don't know if this is far enough along to show color. This is Bethany's ornamental corn mix. Yeah, see, that's still looking pretty white in there. The seed I planted was like multicolor. No, that's still looking white too. So maybe I should leave it for a little while. It's gotten so tall that some of it's flopped over, and I just want to get it when the stalks are nice and straight. So we've got some really nice corn stalk bundles to use for fall decorating. All right, around this way, we've got some amaranth. Sunflowers are just about done, but the birds love them, so we're gonna leave them up for a little bit. We've got the Kentucky Wonder pole beans that we planted the same, did we plant these the same day I did all the zinnias? I don't know, it was close in the lineup. But these have produced a tremendous amount of beans. There's so many on these plants, and they look beautiful, I think. I think they're really pretty vine. There's the tomatoes at the back end of the rose garden. That kind of sums up this space. I mean, I've got a bunch of potatoes I need to dig and plants that need to be taken care of. So let's pop over to the front of the other flower bed. So right outside the cut flower garden, started to work on filling this space up, and we've got some really pretty, these are the Lady Gardener roses that we dug from, look at this. We dug from around where the brick patio is by the chicken coop. There's 4 of them here, and whew, oh my gosh. It's like I've run into a swarm of mosquitoes. Anyway, I thought they weren't gonna survive, and they really have done well. Purple Veronica, there's some coral jade sedum. This is what the coral jade will look like. That's over there. On the other side, this looks so healthy and beautiful. We've also got Spring Grove Arborvitae in here, the silver lining Artemisia. We've got a button bush. Hey, Russell. We've got a miscanthus. And then if we go this way, you'll see the sublimes. We just did this project recently. So there's the creeping Veronica, sublime hydrangeas, and as you curve around, I planted 12 more, so there's 15 sublime hydrangeas in this space. It's gonna be awesome. I cannot wait to see those grow and fill in. This is a Vista View, I think is what they're calling that. That's a 2025 recipe right there. Looking beautiful. What is there, one of each plant? I think that's it.
Was it just 3 plants?
Yeah, I think there's one of each one of those vistas in there. Supertunia Tiara Pink, new one for next year. Example of what it looks like in the ground. This is the reminiscent, no, this is climb up Amberness, I think. So it can be a small climber or a large shrub. I love it right here as a large shrub. Such a pretty color. We still haven't even mulched the space, not all season. Maybe we'll get to it. We've got a Procumbens blue spruce, some back and black sedum. Ooh, this sedum's getting way too much water. Something. Look at that. Yeah, look at that. There's a drip line way too close to it. Darn. No, we'll have to rectify that before we replant in that spot. Arctic Fire dogwoods, looking enormous. What does the tag say? 3 to 5 feet tall and wide? Is that what it says?
How tall are you?
5'4". How tall do you think that is? 6?
Oh, more than that.
Yeah, they're beast plants. I do think because you can prune these one of two ways. You can either every other year go in and cut them back, like back to the ground almost, or you can go in every year and cut out about 1/3 of their old wood, so that if you're using them for a screen, that you don't like forfeit their size or that block. But I think I'm going to do the cut back all the way method, because that will keep the branches the most vibrant red color, because the best color is on first year wood. And I didn't cut it back this last year, and this is what we get. Huge plant. Ginger wine 9-bark, cat's meow nepeta, more ginger wines. Yeah, locust trees put on a lot of growth, really creating a nice canopy. There's echinacea, denim and lace Russian sage, firelight tidbit hydrangeas, which it's just been such a tremendously hot summer. I mean, these are suffering a little bit. They're burned. The blooms are starting to burn, but they did last quite a long time in that heat.
They probably had some mites too.
What's that?
They probably had some mites too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they did. I mean, our limelight hydrangeas up front just defoliated completely. So the fact that these still have leaves, we're doing good. Okay, popping over to this side, kind of the same thing. This firelight tidbit looks a little better. That's weird. I wonder if this one, like the ground...
Still a little burned.
Yeah, but there's some fresh blooms, and there's even a little pink right here. Maybe this one, like, it holds on to a little more water over here or something. I don't know. But we've got our red bud. This is the one that we dug up. Boy, that one was a hard one. It used to be right over there. Doing great. Tuscan Sun Heliopsis just recently went through a deadhead, so they were full of yellow flowers. This is the Prairie Rose Panicum. Again, like with the Cheyenne Sky, if we get wind accompanied with any rain, like any weight on this grass, it just wants to fall over. So this one's kind of recovered. Again, I love the color of the plumes. I think they're so pretty. So I still use it, but it's one that I'll probably, I don't know, I might move this one back. Like it's a little too far forward if it's gonna wanna flop. There are some more echinacea in here. There's some monkshood, Arctic Fire yellow dogwoods, kind of doing the same thing. They're really getting big. I had to cut a tremendous amount. They were just like coming all the way out to here. We have I want to say something crema rose. That's one that stays really small. And then a blue chip junior Dahlia. We'll just finish this little section here before we head in. And you guys, I don't know about the audio. I don't know if the new house build over there, they're working on the roof and some other things, and it's pretty loud. So hopefully, I have my mic underneath my shirt, so hopefully it's muffling some of it. Anyway, this is the Pure Joy sedum. I love it. Isn't that pretty? It just looks like little mounds of cotton candy coming up. They're just like perfect. They're so gorgeous. I planted a bunch of random annuals here. Like I had 2 Kufia left and 1 heliotrope left. And I planted them out here just to see what they would do. There's also some Stardiva. Pink Scavola has done really well in the ground, way better than in containers for me. Some of the pinkerific dahlias in here. I've got some Jerusalem sage. I need to cut that back because it's kind of taking down, it's like got that yellow tone and it's kind of making everything look a little like how some things make everything else look sick. I need to cut that back, but there's some unplugged white salvia. This is the hibiscus that stays small. What's the name of that one? I can't remember, but it does stay a lot smaller. You can see the firelight hydrangeas just like, oh, barely doing it. Brown blooms. There's an Amsonia here, and then we did plant this other birch tree. And before I think I want to go in from the other direction on this sidewalk. So let's just look at the berries real quick. I do have a little currant that one of you guys dropped off down at the garden center when I mentioned that I would love to have a currant plant, and so you brought me one, and it's looking so cute right there. The blackberries have been, I can't even describe how amazing these are. They've been bearing for weeks, like weeks and weeks and weeks. Oh, they're so good. Yeah, I can see a ton of ripe berries. Need to get after it. There's a whole bunch in here too. The grapes. So I'm gonna actually have some branches to train up to the top level, which will be great. And the reason why I haven't yet is because when they're still green like this, they want to pop off the branch so easily. In fact, I tried to get in here earlier this season and do some training, and the branches I wanted to keep kept popping off, and I thought, this isn't worth it. I need to wait until they harden a little bit, and then I'll come in and do some work on them. But there are some grapes in here. There's quite a lot down here, but Benjamin's been picking them, which is great. That's why we have them. They're so good. These are Suffolk Red. We could let them color up a little bit more, but they're super sweet and delicious right now. We've got Heritage Raspberries, which are your red type, right here. And then we've got Fall Golds over on the other side, which are superior in every way, except for this bed is suffering a bit because I just realized that it's not getting the water it needs, especially toward this end. They're all starting to get crispy, and I thought, what is going on here? And I think the drip is working okay right here, but it's not working toward the end, so we need to replace all of that. Okay, to the front. Entering in the other side of this flower bed area, we've got the Spartan junipers, and then on either side, we've got the Supertunia Mini Vista Marine, and they look really good and overall have done really well in this space. I also planted some like leftovers for the cut flower garden. These are Craspedia. I started from seed, and I think I'm going to do that more. Now that we're not going to have like row crops of cut flowers, I think I want to still grow a lot of the same things, but maybe smaller amounts, and just dot them in flower beds like this, because there's already drip in this area or in a lot of areas, and so we can utilize that and have a really fun look. White Swan marigolds also started from seed. They look awesome. And then we've got all of these iris that we transplanted from the back area when we were getting ready to put in the lane to the area behind the barn. So all those iris we dug up and moved. On this side, we have the Wedgwood Pink Angelonia. There are some Quickfire Fab hydrangeas in here, which are totally brown. They weren't just about like, what, 2 weeks ago? They were still nice and white, but they just finally like had enough, which I can't blame them. There's also some echinops in here, which I feel like it's worth coming back in. They will grow a lot bigger. They're babies this year. We started these from seed as well, and they are awesome. Gotta give them some pets real quick. Oh, well, while we're at it, this right here, Supertunia Tiara Pink. There's the Kufia, one of the new varieties, Wedgwood Pink Angelonia, and then a pink variety of Dahlia right here, which I repeated along the sidewalk right there. I think it's a Virtuoso Violet, if I'm not mistaken, but it looks really pretty. Okay, and then we've got some tiramisu. No, is this tiramisu or back in black? I don't know. It's one of those two sedums. And then the Agastache in here. I love it. We started this from seed, and the bees absolutely love it. It's creating just the most beautiful backdrop. These are the Flavorette Honey Apricot Roses right here. They're dainty, but they're so full. Look at this one. Oh, they're gorgeous. So right in here, we've got a bunch of the Radiculus coleus, along with Wedgwood Pink Angelonia and Supertunia Bermuda Beach. It really filled in like maybe more than I thought it was going to. They're really pretty. The light's kind of weird this morning with the smoke, but it's just such a pretty look. We've got some lemon jade sedum in here, along with the reminiscent pink roses, which are kind of flushed out. There's a fresh one right here. Look at this. Fresher, I guess you could say. I love that full, like kind of cabbage rose look. The Chatalpas. What in the world? Like, we drive around at night and we'll just get like hit in the face with a really strong whiff of the Chatalpa as we're driving like the perimeter of the garden. They're just amazing, and I love the color of the leaves. They're kind of that deep green. They've got a little luster to them. They're just an amazing plant. If you find these, I think they were what, a zone 6 through 9 or something like that. If they fall within your growing zone and you find one, I would highly recommend you try it. I've just enjoyed it way more than I ever thought I would. They're just so pretty. Not that I didn't think I would enjoy them. I just thought they wouldn't survive in our garden. And here we are. They're getting way bigger than I thought they would. There's another one there. And then we've got our little flower topiary arb that Bountiful Farms sent out as a thank you. We just had placed a large boxwood or something order with them. No, arbs. All the arbs, like the million arbs we bought. Anyway, they sent this over, so I thought it'd be fun to plant it up with some annuals here. Another Chatalpa. I don't think we're gonna bounce back and look at that flower bed. It's just so loud back there. We can look at that another day. But we've got just a couple, 3 of the eucalyptus. The pineapple lilies, just a few of them came back from last year. So I might try to pop a few more in. There's a couple more around the base of this rose here. But I did plant this rose this year. There's a Genephis juniper, which has put on a tremendous amount of growth. We've got some lamb's ear. This has kind of become a little bit hodgepodge and an area I have not focused on hardly at all. I mean, I planted one thing in this space other than the annuals, which this is the Stardiva Blue Scaevola. It's beautiful. I mean, look at the leaf to bloom ratio here. Same with the Supertunia Vista Snowdrift. Very similar. They look really pretty together. I love it. And then these lilacs are all President Lincoln lilacs, and I want to train them more into tree form so that when you are standing here, you can look through and kind of still see the berry patch area. So we'll get there. The one on the end is older, the one that's bigger. I think this might be the last little spot. We've got the perennial geraniums that we put in not long ago. These are the yellow dahlias. I think they're called like Day Glow or something like that. It's a new one from Proven Winners, Stardiva White Scaevola right there. And
are these queen tuts?
Yeah, also the queen tuts.
They look good here in the landscape.
They do. I really like them.
It's kind of like a lemon coral sedum sort of a vibe, but
yeah,
taller.
Yeah, they're really nice. And then we've just recently planted some Veronica that need a chance to kind of fill in, and then we are kind of back into our grassy area right here. So you guys, I think that's it for our part 2 of our beginning of September garden tour. I'm just really thrilled with how things have done out here largely. I mean, there's things here and there always, every year, that have struggled or that I need to move or that I don't end up liking where I put them, and that's just kind of how it goes. And this is a time of year where it starts to get into that time where we can start moving those things around and transplanting. So we'll probably start doing a lot of projects like that as soon as it cools off a little bit more. Today, I think what's our high 80 or so? Here comes Samantha Grace. But we're gonna pop back up into the mid to high 90s for a little while before we go back down. So we'll see how it goes. But I hope you guys enjoyed this tour. I hope the roofing noise isn't too loud. I'm watching them put shingles on right now. So thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.